My beloved child, there are battles that do not enter your life with a fierce roar, nor do they take a form that makes you immediately recognize them as darkness. Many times, they come very quietly, like a thin mist settling over the soul, causing you slowly to forget what once made your heart burn. They come in the days when you are too busy to kneel, too tired to listen, too hurried to discern, too accustomed to noise until my voice begins to feel distant. But I do not draw near to you with words of condemnation. I come as a father comes beside a weary child, placing my hand upon your shoulder and reminding you, awaken in love, for your soul is more precious than everything that is trying to pull you away. That is why the ancient word still resounds, not as a sentence of judgment, but as a bell of salvation. Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. Matthew 26:41. Do you see? I do not tell you to stay awake because I doubt you, but because I know there are small things that, if you take them lightly, I can quietly turn an entire journey off course. Do not think that only great falls can cause your soul to drift far from me. There are very small steps backward, so small that you tell yourself they do not matter. And then day after day they become distance. A prayer delayed, a compromise covered with a reasonable excuse, a relationship that steals your peace but that you still cling to, a habit that clouds your mind but that you continue to nourish. All these things may not make you fall at once, but they can make you less sensitive to my presence. Just as a vineyard is not destroyed only by a great storm, but sometimes by the little foxes that spoil the vineyards. Song of Songs 2:15. Your spiritual life also needs to be guarded in the things that seem small. I do not want you to live in fear, but I want you to live in holy clarity, knowing how to recognize what nourishes your soul and what is draining the life within you. And when I remind you in this way, do not bow your head in shame, for I do not look at you with disappointment. I see the days when you tried to stand firm though no one knew. I see the moments when you wanted to give up, yet still whispered my name. I see even the hidden battles you have never told anyone about. The times you smiled outwardly while trembling within. My child, I know you are standing in a battlefield that is not easy, but I also know what I have placed within you. Your strength does not come from your fragile willpower, but from my grace that is lifting you up with every breath. As it is written, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Therefore, do not draw a conclusion about your future based only on your present weariness. Your weakness is not the end. It may be the very place where you come to know me as the one who carries what you cannot carry by yourself. Remember Elijah, my servant, who once stood before the prophets of Baal as fire came down from heaven, yet afterward became so weary that he fled into the wilderness and asked to die. Do you see? Even one who had witnessed great power could become exhausted, confused, and convinced he was alone. But I did not come to Elijah with harsh rebuke. I sent an angel with bread and water, so that he could eat, rest, and then continue the journey. I know when you need correction, but I also know when you need to be nourished before you can rise again. And after the strong wind, after the earthquake, after the fire, I did not reveal myself through the noise, but in a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. So when your heart is troubled, do not think I have gone far away. Perhaps I am inviting you back into stillness, where you can hear the voice of your Father more clearly than every threat around you. There are certain pulls in your life that do not wear the obvious face of evil. They may be things the world calls normal, conversations that leave your heart heavy, places that cause the light within you to grow dim, praises that make you forget humility, or pressures that make you trade your peace in order to be accepted. But you were not created to live like a leaf carried away by the wind. You belong to me, and what belongs to me must be kept in the light. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. I am not telling you to close your door to everyone, but I am teaching you to discern what is allowed to enter the deepest place of your soul. Your heart is holy ground. Not every voice has the right to sow seed there. Even so, I do not want you to turn watchfulness into a heavy burden. To be watchful does not mean you must tense yourself and observe everything in fear. To be watchful is to stay near enough to me that you recognize when peace begins to leave your heart. It is knowing when to stop as your soul begins to run dry. It is returning to prayer before the chaos within becomes a wrong decision without. It is allowing my word to shine into every hidden corner, like a lamp set upon the path. For your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. When you remain in that light, you do not need to see the entire long road ahead. You only need the next step to be illuminated. And I will lead you from one step to the next. My beloved child, do not let weariness convince you that you have failed. Weariness only shows that you need to return to the source of strength, not to return to condemnation. When your body is weak, rest in me. When your mind is troubled, give me the thoughts that keep circling within you. When your soul is dry, let me lead you to the living waters. I have spoken, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. You do not need to come to me wearing the appearance of false strength. Come to me in truth. If you are trembling, come. If you are overwhelmed, come. If you do not know how to pray, simply place your heart before me. For even your sighs are not overlooked by me. I go before you into places you have never been, to make a way through what you thought was impossible. I walk beside you in the hours when you feel weak, to lift you with an arm that never grows weary. I also go behind you, protecting what you cannot see, mending the gaps you did not know had been wounded. Therefore, when you feel as though you must hold everything together alone, remember that this is not the truth. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14 is not a call for you to give up, but an invitation for you to stop panicking, to stop taking my place, to stop believing that everything will only remain secure if your hands never let go. There are battles in which you must stand firm, but there are burdens that only I have the authority to carry. So today, I am not calling you back with thunder, but with love. Return to the place of prayer, not as one who is being forced, but as a child coming home. Release the things that are pulling you away from your calling, not because I want to take your joy from you, but because I want to restore to you a deeper life. Guard the small habits, the small choices, the small thoughts, because it is within those small things that either the light is nourished or darkness finds an opening. You have not been abandoned by me in this process. I am teaching you to walk with gentle watchfulness, with enduring faith, with a heart no longer controlled by what is outside of it. Rise, my beloved child, not to prove that you have never been weak, but because you have been upheld, not to continue by your own strength, but by the presence that is covering you. And when you turn again to hear my voice, you will realize I have never gone far away. I am still here, still calling you with love, still fighting for you, and still leading you into the peace that no force can steal from my hand. My beloved child, there are cries that never rise as audible sound, yet still touch the heights of heaven. There are nights when you turn your face toward the darkness, letting your tears fall upon your pillow with no hand to wipe them away. No one to ask. No eyes to know that inside you are breaking into small pieces. You thought that pain passed away like the night mist, unnoticed, unrecorded, leaving no trace, carrying no meaning beyond the weariness you had to bear alone. But I speak to you with the tenderness of a father who never takes his eyes off you. Not one of your tears has fallen into forgetfulness. When your heart could not speak, your tears spoke. When your lips could not plead, the trembling within your soul rose before me. As it is written, you have kept count of my wanderings, put my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56:8. Do you see what the world does not see? I still preserve what people call weakness. I see as the mark of a soul that still longs to be healed. Therefore, do not despise the seasons in which you have wept. Do not call those nights useless. In my eyes, there are tears that are like seeds sown into dark soil, not rising immediately, not showing you fruit at once, yet quietly preparing for a new season. You thought you were only enduring, but I was there, working in depths you could not yet understand. I do not stand outside your life as a distant God, watching you struggle and waiting for you to rise by yourself. No, my child, I step into the place where you hurt. I sit with you in the silence no one else can bear. I remain when others leave. I know the name of every wound, the origin of every fear, and why you stayed silent before the things you should have been able to speak. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. My nearness does not depend on whether you can feel me or not. I am still near. Even when pain makes you think you have been forgotten, there are times when you come to me with broken prayers, without order, without beautiful words, with only heavy breaths and a heart almost drained of strength. You wonder whether a prayer full of doubt can still be heard, whether a trembling soul can still be embraced, whether I turn my face away when you are not strong enough to believe completely. But my child, I do not need you to present your pain in perfect language. I do not stand before you like a judge demanding that you speak correctly, feel correctly, and believe correctly before you may come near. I am your Father. I hear even the things you do not have the strength to name. I understand even the spaces between your prayers. When all you can do is sigh, the Holy Spirit still lifts that before me. For the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Romans 8:26. You are not excluded from love because you are weak. It is precisely in the place of your weakness that I bend down closer. Remember Hannah, the woman who carried her hidden sorrow in her heart and brought it before the temple. She did not pray like someone performing faith for others to see. She was in such pain that her lips moved, yet no sound came forth. So much so that Eli the priest thought she was drunk. But I did not misunderstand her. I saw what lay behind that silence. I saw the shame, the longing, the years of endurance, and the sincerity of a heart being poured out before me. When Hannah left the place of prayer, her face was no longer sad as before, because a soul that has been heard by me begins to receive peace even before the answer appears. Then, at the appointed time, Samuel was born, not merely as a child, but as a sign that silent prayers never vanish into emptiness. My beloved child, that story is not only about Hannah, it also speaks to you, telling you that I know how to turn tears into life, humiliation into testimony, and the very place where you once hurt the most into the place where grace begins to speak. Perhaps in the days when you lost your way, you searched for love in places that could not nourish your soul. You gave your heart to things that only promised temporary warmth, yet left within you an even deeper emptiness. You allowed a few glances, a few words, a few relationships, a few failures to define your worth. And little by little, you forgot that your true name is not written by human approval. I saw those footsteps. I saw the moments when you lowered yourself just to be kept. I saw the times when you smiled while your heart was withering. I saw even the moments when you knew something was not good for you, yet still did not have the strength to let it go. Yet I do not use those seasons of wandering as a reason to close the door to you. My love is not like the fragile love of the world, loving you when you are right and withdrawing when you are wrong. I have spoken. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore I have drawn you with loving kindness. Jeremiah 31:3. I draw you not with the cords of shame, but with a mercy gentle enough to heal and strong enough to bring you home. Do not think that because I see everything, you must run away in fear. It is precisely because I see everything that you can stop hiding. I know the places you have gone, the things you have tried to cling to, the decisions you wish you could make again. But I also know that there is still a deep part of you turning toward the light. And my child, even one small ray of return is not taken lightly by me. The prodigal son did not come home carrying proof that he had repaired everything. He came only with a broken heart and one step turned toward home. While he was still far away, the father ran to embrace him. Luke 15:20. This is what I want you to understand. I do not wait for you to make yourself worthy before I open my arms. My arms are the place where your dignity is restored. The new robe is not given after you have proven yourself long enough. The new robe is given because you are a child, and the Father's house still has room for you. From now on, when old memories try to convince you that you are only the sum of your falls, let my voice speak louder. You are not the pain you have endured. You are not the place where you once searched for love in the wrong way. You are not another person's rejection, nor are you the dark nights that once made you cry until you had no strength left. You are the one I call by name. You are the soul I still keep. You are the child I do not abandon halfway. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. Isaiah 42:3. If there is only a small spark left within you, I can still breathe it into flame. If your heart has only one quiet whisper left, help me. I still hear it like a bell ringing in heaven. So come near to me, without needing to decorate your pain, without needing to hide your weakness, without pretending that you are well, while something within you still needs to be healed. Let me touch the places you have locked away. Let me wash away the false definitions life has placed upon you. Let me teach you that being loved does not mean you must always be strong, and being restored does not mean you were never wounded. I am with you in every breath, in every step of return, in every moment when you choose not to run from the light anymore. Your tears have not been forgotten. Your broken prayers have not been ignored, and the years in which you lost your way are not stronger than my everlasting love. Rest in this. My beloved child, I have seen you. I have heard you. I have kept you. And I am still drawing you back with mercy that never runs dry. My beloved child, stop standing outside your own pain as though you were a stranger to it. Stop covering your wounds with thick layers of silence, simply because you are afraid that if they are opened, everything will become too much to bear. I do not draw near to you to make you ashamed. I do not enter the hidden rooms of your heart to point at the things you have tried to hide. I come as the healer, as the Father who knows how long you have had to hold yourself together, who knows where within you it still aches when night falls, who knows which memory, if touched even lightly, can make your soul tremble. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. So do not be afraid of my light. That light does not come to expose you in humiliation, but to drive away the darkness that made you think you had to live forever in woundedness. I do not bring up the past to imprison you there. I touch it only to free you from the power it once held over your soul. Long before you knew how to name yourself, before the world placed expectations, identities, praise, or criticism upon you, I knew you with a tender and holy knowledge. I placed within you a unique sound, not the noise of ambition, not a rhythm borrowed from the crowd, but a melody breathed out of my eternal purpose. As David once said, "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb." Psalm 139:13. In the same way, I have woven within you an identity that cannot be copied. Perhaps you have forgotten it because for too many years you had to live to please others. Perhaps you thought that calling had gone silent because disappointment, weariness, and the times you were misunderstood had covered your heart with dust. But my child, what I placed within you does not die simply because you once lost your way. It is still there, quiet like an underground spring, waiting for the day you become still enough again to hear it flowing. Therefore, I invite you into silence, not as a punishment, but as a place of encounter. In this noisy world, you have heard too many voices telling you to be faster, stronger, different, more visible, and more proven. Those voices have dragged your mind down many roads where your heart has never truly rested. But in my presence, you no longer need to perform. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Psalm 37:7 is not a call for you to remain motionless in despair. It is a doorway leading you back to the original breath of your soul. When you are still, you will realize that I have not been absent. When you stop running, you will hear the voice that has been calling you for so long. When you no longer allow outside voices to determine your worth, the melody I placed within you will begin to rise again, purer, deeper, and truer. There are parts of you that have grown tired from protecting themselves for too long. You learned how to smile when your heart was breaking, how to say "I'm fine" when everything inside you only wanted to be held, how to be so strong that you forgot you also needed to be cherished. But I did not create you to live forever behind fortified walls. Some walls once helped you survive, but if you keep them too long, they will also keep love from entering. I am not breaking you. I am dismantling what has imprisoned you. I do not force your heart open with harshness. I stand there patiently until you recognize that my arms are a safe place. Perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4:18. And my love for you does not merely soothe your crying, it teaches your soul to stop trembling before true closeness. When you remain in my arms, healing will not always come like a flash of lightning that makes every memory disappear in a single moment. Many times, it comes like the dawn, very gentle, very slow, yet certain. At first, you only notice that you can breathe a little more deeply. Then you realize that something that once wounded you no longer controls you as it did before. Then you begin to distinguish between the voice of the past and my voice. Then you learn how to forgive without denying the truth, how to let go without losing your dignity, how to move forward without needing to prove to anyone that you have healed. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. That newness is not an outer garment placed over you. It is the living stream I cause to rise from within. In the very place where you once thought only ruins remained. Do not quickly lose heart if there are days when you still feel pain. A wound that is healing can still ache when it is touched. But that does not mean you have not moved forward. I am teaching you to see healing with patient eyes. You are no longer someone owned by the past. Even if memory still knocks at the door at times, you are no longer the child who must ask fear for permission to live. Even if your heart still trembles sometimes, you are no longer the one abandoned halfway. Even if on some days you cannot yet see the whole road ahead, I am here, not distant, not waiting for you to become perfect before I love you, not demanding that you repair yourself completely before you may come near. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. That word does not change according to your emotions, nor does it grow weaker in the seasons when you do not yet fully understand my heart. Now, let me restore within you the sense of belonging. You are not a stranger before me. You are not a soul who must stand outside the threshold, looking at grace as though it were something meant for someone else. You are my child, even when you cannot yet fully feel this embrace. My arms are still open, even when you still hesitate. My love does not withdraw, even when you only dare to take one small step. Heaven still recognizes the direction of your return. Let my presence enter the place where you hurt the most, not to break you further, but to uproot the lie that you cannot be restored. Let me enter the place where you are most weary, not to demand more from you, but to teach you how to rest in a strength that does not come from yourself. Let me enter the place you have hidden most deeply, not to expose you before the world, but to return to you freedom in the light. And as you are gradually healed, the old melody within you will rise again with a new tone. It will no longer be the innocent song of one who has never known pain, but the song of a soul that has passed through darkness and yet has not been swallowed by it. It will carry the tenderness of mercy, the depth of faith, the light of one whom I have lifted up. You will not only be comforted, you will be transformed. You will not only survive, you will become a sign of grace. I was here from the beginning, when you did not yet know that I was weaving you together. I am still here in the present, as you are learning to open your heart once more, and I will still be here until the end, when everything I have begun in you is completed in love. Come near, my beloved child. Be still in me. Listen again to the music of your soul. It has never been lost. It has only been waiting to be awakened by the hand of the Father, the one who loved you first and will love you forever. My beloved child, I do not call you back with threats, nor do I draw you back with the chains of condemnation. I do not want you to return as a trembling soul merely afraid of being punished, nor do I want you to come near to me as someone forced to kneel before a stranger. I call you with love, with the gentle sound that once touched your heart in the beginning, when your heart still knew how to tremble before my presence, when a simple prayer was enough to make your eyes shine again, when you had not yet learned to hide your holy longing beneath the garments of busyness and self-protection. Remember, my beloved, not so that you may grieve over the days that have passed, but so that you may recognize the precious thing that has never been lost. I once spoke to the church in Ephesus that they had left their first love, Revelation 2:4. But that word was not only a warning, it was also an invitation to return to the first flame. The door has not closed. My hand is not withdrawn. My voice is still near enough for your soul to hear, if you will stop in the midst of the noise. There have been years when the world told you too many things about yourself, so many that you began to forget my voice. It told you that your worth was found in achievement, in recognition, in how many people needed you, how many eyes acknowledged you, how many results could be measured. It taught you to run, then blamed you for being exhausted. It taught you to prove yourself, then made you afraid that you were still not enough. It placed narrow molds upon you, while I created you with a purpose wider than every human standard. Before anyone called you a failure, I called you beloved. Before anyone made you doubt your light, I placed that light within you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:5. You did not begin with the world's assessment. You began with my knowing. and what I know about you is deeper than every word people have ever spoken. Therefore, do not let ordinary life swallow your soul. I did not place you in this world merely so that you would wake up, work, worry, grow tired, and repeat your days like a shadow passing over the earth. You were not created to quietly exist in depletion and then call that maturity. There is a deeper life that I have placed within you, a spring that does not depend on perfect circumstances. I have spoken, I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 10:10. That abundant life does not always appear as outward ease, but as an inner life that is not hollowed out by pressure, not led astray by noise, not extinguished simply because the days have grown heavy. I want you to live, not merely function. I want you to be awake, not merely busy. I want you to walk as one who knows where they belong, not as one who must invent a reason to keep going. Therefore, when you do good and do not yet see the result, do not quickly conclude that it is meaningless. When you love and are not answered in a worthy way, do not let your heart grow cold. When you are faithful in small things and no one recognizes it, do not let the silence of others make you question the value of obedience. The harvest does not come the moment the seed falls into the ground. There are things that must be covered, must endure rain and sun, must wait for the appointed time before they rise from the earth. Let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Galatians 6:9. That word does not promise that you will never grow tired, but it does promise that faithfulness is not forgotten by me. The good things you do in secret may not immediately change the world, but they are keeping you within my flow, and a life that remains within that flow is never useless. Perhaps you once thought that, in order to influence this life, you had to become great in the eyes of others. But I often work through small things, offered with a sincere heart. A cup of cold water given to one of the little ones is not despised by me. An act of forgiveness that no one knows about can break a chain of pain passed down from generation to generation. Patience within a family. A prayer in the night. A choice not to retaliate. An act of kindness when your own heart is tired. All of these carry weight in the kingdom of heaven. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Luke 16:10. You do not need to wait for a great stage before you begin to live according to what I have placed within you. It is in the most ordinary places that your true nature is refined and my fragrance is released. I know there are times when you are doubted, mocked, and underestimated simply because you do not choose the easy path. There are times when you live with gentleness and others mistake it for weakness. When you remain silent and they think you have lost. When you forgive and they think you do not know pain. When you continue doing what is right and they call it naive. But my beloved child, do not let human misunderstanding cause you to betray what I am forming within you. Christ himself was despised, misunderstood, and rejected. Yet he did not allow the darkness of others to define his nature. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten. 1 Peter 2:23. True strength does not always take the form of striking back. Sometimes true strength is still keeping love when you have enough reasons to become bitter. Still keeping purity when the world invites compromise. Still continuing forward when your heart only wants to sit down in the middle of the road. Now, I call you back not only to remember a beautiful past, but to reconnect with the flow that once made your soul alive. First love is not a distant memory for you to grieve over. It is a flame that can be lit again. Return to the place where you once knew me, not by theory, but by nearness. Return to prayer that needs no decoration. Return to simple obedience, to joy in what is pure, to eyes that know how to recognize grace in ordinary days. If ashes have covered the altar of your heart, I can still breathe the flame back to life. If you have gone far from that memory, the way home has not disappeared. Return to me, and I will return to you. Zechariah 1:3. Not because I ever abandoned you, but because I want you to recognize again the presence you had lost the ability to feel. My beloved child, do not fear that it is too late for you to live according to what I have sown within you. Do not fear that the years of depletion have taken away every opportunity. I am the one who renews seasons, the one who calls sleeping seeds to rise, the one who makes streams flow in the wilderness and opens a way through the deep sea. What I placed within you can still bloom, but you must stop calling weariness your destiny and stop calling numbness peace. Let me awaken you. Let me remind you that you are not a shadow passing through this life, but a lamp placed on a stand to shine in the very place where I send you. Love with a love that is not impoverished by calculation. Do good when no one is watching. Create beauty in the land where you are now. Stand firm, not to prove that you are strong, but to testify that I am faithful. And when you live in this way, each ordinary day will no longer be a meaningless cycle, but holy ground where my life flows through you quietly, yet powerfully, gently yet impossible to extinguish. My beloved child, there are things I can do for you by my power and my mercy. I can make a way where there is no way. Calm the storm that is roaring around your life. Heal the places you thought no longer had hope, and call light to rise even in the darkest valley. But there is one thing I do not force within you, and that is the opening of your heart. I did not create you as a door to be broken open by power, but as a soul invited to enter love willingly. True love does not use fear to possess, pressure to break, or condemnation to draw you back. True love stands there patient, hoy, enduring, knocking on the door of your heart with tireless gentleness. As it is written, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. Revelation 3:20. Do you see? I am not far away. I have not left. I stand near enough for you to hear the knock. Yet I love you deeply enough not to invade what you have not yet been willing to surrender. Perhaps you have grown used to living with closed doors. There are rooms within your heart that were once wounded so deeply that you thought shutting them away was the only way to stay safe. You locked away memories, locked away trust, locked away the ability to love, and even locked away the dreams I once placed within you. Then, over time, you began to think those bolts were normal, to think numbness was peace, to think no longer expecting anything was wisdom. But I speak to you with the tenderness of a father. You were not created to live inside a dark inner house where every window is covered because you fear the light will hurt. My light does not come to burn you. It comes to show you where dust needs to be wiped away, where wounds need to be anointed, and where treasures have been forgotten beneath layers of fear. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. 1 John 1:5. And when you turn your face toward me, you do not step into exposure for condemnation, but into truth for freedom. Remember the paralyzed man who lay beside the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. He was near the place where people believed healing could happen. Yet he had lived so long in helplessness that his pain had become the way he saw himself. When Christ came near, he did not begin with a long sermon about the man's mistakes, nor did he use his weakness to shame him. He asked a question that went straight to the center of the will. Do you want to be made well? John 5:6. My beloved child, that question was not asked because I do not know your pain, but because I want you to recognize that there are times when healing not only needs to be given, but also received. That man had to hear the call. Rise up, take up his bed, and walk. In the same way, I can bring restoration, but you must stop agreeing with the old mat of condemnation. I can speak life, but you must stop lying forever in the old definition of yourself. Therefore, today, I am not merely speaking to you about the beautiful image you may become as some distant comfort. I am calling you to step into that image through a real action, even if it is small, even if it tremble, even if you do not yet fully understand what waits ahead. You have heard much about how you can be healed, renewed, and live differently. But now, you need to let that word move from your ears into your heart, from your heart into a choice, and from that choice into a step. Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. James 1:22. I am not telling you that you must change everything in one day. I am not placing a mountain before you and then blaming you because you cannot cross it immediately. I am simply inviting you to do the next thing in the light. Open your heart a little. Pray one honest prayer. Release one thing that is pulling you away from me. Face one truth you have avoided for too long, and reach your hand toward me instead of withdrawing into familiar darkness. Do not be afraid to look back at yourself. I am not asking you to look back so that you may condemn yourself. Count every mistake and use them like stones to throw at your own soul. I am asking you to look back so that you may see something far more wondrous. In every season, when you thought you were alone, I was still present. In the season of your innocence, I protected you. In the season of your wandering, I still called you. In the season when you tried to save yourself by your own strength, I still stood near. In the season when you thought you had gone too far, my mercy still kept a way for you to return. When you look back with me, the past is no longer a prison. It becomes a map of mercy. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. Not everything was good, my child, but in my hands. Even broken pieces can be used to form a testimony of grace. There were times when you avoided the true image of yourself because you feared that if you looked directly, you would see only lack and failure. But I see you differently. I do not see you through the distorted mirror of shame. I see you through the purpose I placed within you from the beginning. You do not need to run away from yourself in order to be loved. You do not need to deny your weakness in order to be accepted by me. You do not need to become a hardened version of yourself, unable to feel pain, unable to need anyone in order to prove that you are worthy. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I see even the things you have done wrong, but I also see the good seed still buried deep beneath the soil. I see the wounds, but I also see the life that can rise again. I see the tears, but I also see the day when you will use the very place that once hurt to comfort others with the mercy you have received from me. And my beloved child, do not wait until your hand stops trembling before you reach out. Many people delay their return because they think they must be fully certain, fully strong, and fully worthy before they may come near to me. But faith sometimes begins with a trembling hand, still daring to reach toward the light. Remember the woman who had suffered from the issue of blood for many years, the woman who pressed through the crowd just to touch the hem of Jesus' garment. She did not come with an appearance of strength, with status, or with an eloquent prayer. She came in weakness, with fragile hope. Yet she reached out her hand, and power touched her. Christ did not allow her to disappear into the crowd in shame, but called her daughter and said, "Your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Mark 5:34. Do you see? One sincere touch can open what many years of endurance could not resolve on their own. I was there before you knew how to reach your hand toward me. I had prepared grace before you knew you needed help. I saw your returning footsteps before you had the courage to rise. When you thought you were searching for me, my love had already been searching for you for a long time. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Luke 19:10. Therefore, do not think that everything depends on the strength of your grip on me. I am the one holding you. Your part is to open your heart, to stop resisting healing, to stop calling darkness a refuge, and to let me enter the places you have locked away in fear. I do not need you to open every room in a single moment. I am simply inviting you to begin with today's door. Perhaps that door is the forgiveness you have been avoiding. Perhaps it is the confession that you are tired. Perhaps it is returning to prayer after a long season of silence. Perhaps it is ceasing to punish yourself for the things I have already been willing to forgive. Perhaps it is facing a habit that is drawing out your soul. Perhaps it is allowing yourself to believe that you still have a future. Whatever it is, do it in my presence, not in panic, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. Zechariah 4:6. You do not step through this door alone. Every small step in the light is upheld by my hand. Every choice turned toward life is recognized by heaven. Every time you say yes, even while trembling, your soul is learning again the language of freedom. Now, I am calling you not from afar, but from the very threshold of your heart. I do not hold an accusation in my hand. I hold healing oil. I do not stand there demanding that you explain why it has taken you so long. I stand there ready to embrace you when you open the door. Look back, my beloved child, and you will see that I have moved through every chapter of your life with mercy. Look at the present, and you will see that this moment is not as small as you thought. It may be the beginning point of a deep return. Look ahead, and you will see that I am not only calling you out of what is old, but calling you into the very person you were created to become. Do not avoid the light anymore. Do not fear the hand that is waiting for you. Reach out, even if you are still trembling, even if your tears have not yet dried, even if your heart does not know what to say. You will realize that I was already there, nearer than your breath, more patient than all your hesitation, and more faithful than every fear that once made you close the door. Open your heart, my beloved child. I will come in. I will remain. And the place within you that was once shut away will become the place where life begins to speak. My beloved child, amid all the voices pulling your mind in many directions, amid judgments, fears, old memories, and whispers that make you doubt yourself, I am still speaking to you with a sound that is gentle yet never weak. You belong to me. Before the world knew how to define you, I called you with love. Before any mistake had time to cast a shadow over your journey, I placed a purpose within you. Before you heard the words that caused your heart to shrink back, I wrote the mark of life upon your soul. You are not an accident, thrown into this life to search for meaning in the midst of chaos. You are not the result of what has been broken. You are not the product of pain, failure, or the seasons when you went the wrong way. I have spoken, for I know the plans I have for you, plans for peace and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. That word is not a fragile comfort. It is a rock beneath your feet when every other word tries to make you fall. Perhaps you have lived beneath what I placed within you, not because you lack worth, nor because you are unable to enter a deeper life, but because you have believed for too long in things that did not come from me. There are lies that do not shout like enemies. They repeat themselves softly through the years until you begin to think they are the truth. They say that you are not good enough, not clean enough, not strong enough, not lovable enough, not chosen enough. They cause you to shrink back in order to avoid being wounded, to lower your dreams so you will not be mocked, to live as though the light within you were something too fragile and had to be hidden. But my beloved child, darkness does not need to bind you with iron chains. if it can persuade you to lock yourself away with doubt. Therefore, I come not to make you afraid of the battle, but to awaken you from the sleep of false beliefs. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. My truth does not merely correct your thoughts, it unlocks your soul. Therefore, do not use your past as evidence against your future. Do not let one season of wandering convince you that your whole life has gone astray. Do not let the words others spoke when they did not understand you become a prophecy over your destiny. Bring every one of those voices before me, and let my words separate truth from falsehood. What belongs to me from what belongs only to fear. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Those weapons may have made you tired, made you weep, and slowed your steps, but they do not have the authority to write the ending. I am the one who continues your story. I am the one who called Lazarus out of the tomb when others could only see the sealed stone and the smell of death. I am the one who speaks life into the place that seemed too late. So who can declare that there is no way back for you when I myself am still calling your name? Today, open your eyes from the fog that has covered you for so long, not by forcing yourself to become strong in a single moment, but by allowing my truth to soak into every layer of your thoughts. Tell your soul that you belong to me. Remind your heart that you have not been forgotten. Look at your wounds, not as signs of abandonment, but as places where I can pour healing oil. Look at the abilities within you, not as something too distant, but as seeds waiting for the light. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. I do not begin anything within you, only to abandon it halfway. Delay is not the end. Weakness is not your destiny. Confusion is not your identity. Step into this new day, my beloved child, not as one being dragged by the past, but as one being lifted by mercy. Each day I place before you is not given so you may return to the old rooms of fear, but so you may move into the new thing I am preparing. Perhaps that new thing begins very small, a thought being changed, a prayer being rekindled, a habit being released, a decision no longer to believe the lie, a step taken in truth instead of condemnation. But do not despise small beginnings. Who has despised the day of small things? Zechariah 4:10. In my kingdom, a mustard seed can grow into a tree. A small jar of oil can sustain an entire household. And a trembling yes can open the way to a new journey. I am whispering into you even now, you are mine. Not only when you are perfect are you mine. Not only when everyone recognizes you are you mine. Not only when you no longer have battles are you mine. You are mine in the process of healing. On the day you are still weak, while you are learning to stand again. In the moment when you have only just begun again, receive this word like a mantle covering your soul. Let it replace the old labels of shame. Let it awaken the courage that has been sleeping within you. Rise in truth, not to prove anything to the world, but to walk with me into the life I have ordained. Today's dawn is a doorway. My mercy has opened it before you. Step through it, my beloved child, for on the other side is not the past waiting to capture you, but the new thing I have prepared with my love, my peace, and my eternal purpose. I know there are days when you look around and feel your heart grow small. You see others seeming to move faster, achieve more, receive recognition sooner, appear more certain, and then you begin to wonder whether you are being left behind. But my beloved child, you are measuring your journey with a ruler I never placed in your hand. I did not set you in a race of comparison. I did not create you to become a copy of someone the world is applauding. I did not place a unique melody within you only to require you to sing with someone else's voice. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:9. 1. When I call you by name, I call you in your uniqueness, in an identity that cannot be replaced, in the assignment that only you can carry with the heart I have formed. Comparison is a crooked mirror. It does not show you the truth. It only magnifies what you lack and dims what I am nurturing within you. When you look at others through the fear that you are not enough, you easily forget that their season is not your season. Their soil is not your soil. Their rhythm is not your rhythm. An olive tree does not need to be ashamed because it does not bloom like a lily, and a stream does not need to despise itself because it does not roar like a mighty waterfall. Everything I create has beauty within its proper purpose. For the body is not one member, but many. 1 Corinthians 12:14. If the whole body were an eye, who would hear? If all were hands, who would walk? You belong to a larger picture, and your faithfulness in the portion I have entrusted to you is not small, simply because it differs from someone else's portion. Remember David when he was still out in the fields, tending sheep, not placed by his family in a position of prominence when Samuel came to anoint. People looked at Eliab's tall appearance and thought he must be the chosen one. But I said, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. David did not need to wear Saul's armor in order to defeat Goliath. When he tried to wear it, it did not fit him, because the victory I had appointed for David would not come through his becoming a copy of another warrior, but through his faithfulness to what I had trained in him in the wilderness, the sling, the stone, and the courage that had been tested when he faced the lion and the bear. My beloved child, there are certain armors of others that may look powerful, but they were not made for you. If you try to carry them, they will become a burden. When you walk in what I have personally trained you for, even the small thing in your hand can become an instrument of victory. Therefore, stop apologizing for your own rhythm. Stop hating the part of your path that seems slower. Stop looking at hidden seasons as evidence that I have forgotten you. There are seasons when I do not bring you before the crowd because I am deepening your roots in private. There are promises that need time so your heart may become wide enough to carry them. There are doors I delay, not to punish you, but to protect you from entering before the foundation is firm. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. If you trust me only when everything moves quickly according to your desire, you will often be restless. But if you learn to move in rhythm with me, you will realize that slowness in my hands is not rejection. Many times, it is wise preparation. When you try to become someone else, your soul grows weary in a very deep way. You may be praised for fitting into a mold, yet inwardly still feel like a stranger to yourself. You may be accepted by the crowd, yet lose the peace of one who is living according to the nature I placed within them. I do not want you to live by borrowing a voice, borrowing dreams, borrowing standards, borrowing an image in order to be seen as successful. I have formed you fearfully and wonderfully. My work in you is marvelous. Psalm 139:14. Your originality is not a flaw to be hidden, but a mark I have placed upon this life. When you accept yourself in me, you do not become smaller, you step into fullness. You do not need to magnify yourself in order to have worth, nor shrink yourself in order to be loved. You only need to remain in me, and from that place, become the person I have called by name. The surrender I invite you into does not erase your identity, it restores it. When you release control, you do not become a person without direction. On the contrary, you are led into a holy order, where the disordered things within you begin to return to their rightful place. When you place your own plans into my hands, I do not take away your future, I purify it from fear, from comparison, and from desires born out of woundedness. When you say, "Let your will be done," you are not being erased. You are being returned to the flow of purpose. Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane prayed, "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. In that surrender there was no cowardly weakness, but the power of love that trusted the Father completely. In the same way, when you surrender to me, you do not lose your life. You find it in the hands that loved you first. So today, lay down the need to understand everything, to control everything, to move as quickly as others, to be like others, to prove that you are not falling behind. Let your heart return to the holy simplicity of trust. I know the way. I know the timing. I know you, and I do not lead you wrongly. Walk today's portion of the road with your eyes fixed on me. Do what is illuminated before you. Tend the seed I have placed in your hand instead of envying someone else's garden. Let the light unfold, one part at a time. Enough for the next step. Enough so that your faith will not be paralyzed by worry. And when you feel slow, remember that roots often grow in silence before the tree rises into the light. When you feel small, remember that I used a stone in David's hand, a staff in Moses' hand, and 5 loaves and 2 fish in the hands of a child to do what exceeded every human calculation. My beloved child, you are not being left behind in the race, because I never placed you in that race. You are on a journey with me. Stop running after a calling that was not meant for you, and listen to the sound of my voice calling your name. Stop trying to force miracles through anxiety, and open your heart to miracles through trust. Stop relying on your limited understanding, and acknowledge me in every small step. When you release what you cannot carry, your hands will be free to receive what I want to give. When you stop trying to become someone else, your soul will have room to bloom in the very shape I intended. I am with you in this process, not driving you by fear, but leading you with peace. Surrender, my beloved child. Trust. Be yourself in me, and you will see the way open, not because you control everything, but because I, your Father, I'm leading you with a love that never goes astray. My beloved child, do not use the blessing I have given to someone else to measure the depth of my love for you. Do not look at their harvest and conclude that your seed has been forgotten. Do not look at the door opening before another person and think that I have locked every path before you. You only see the visible surface of their journey, the successes displayed, the congratulations heard, the favorable circumstances that can so easily make your heart ache. But you do not see all the nights they have wept, the battles they have overcome, the things they have had to release, the wounds they are learning, either to hide or to heal, just as they cannot see what I am quietly building within you. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I do not act according to the simple divisions of human judgment, but according to eternal wisdom, where every soul has a season, a rhythm, a path, and a portion appointed by love, not by comparison. There are things you call delay, but in my hands they are time for the roots to grow deep. There are places you call lack, but in my purpose they are the school of faith. There are seasons when you feel unseen, yet I am protecting you from a spotlight that would come too soon. While something within you still needs to be strengthened, a seed is not rejected by the dark soil simply because it must remain beneath the ground for a time. It is precisely in that darkness that its roots find their way downward, so that when the stem rises, it will not be easily torn down by the wind. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. If you only trust me when everything arrives at the time you desire, your heart will be shaken each time you have to wait. But if you learn to trust me, even in the season when you do not yet see, you will realize that my silence is not forgetfulness, and my slowness is never abandonment. Remember Joseph, the one who carried dreams from me within his heart, yet was thrown into a pit before he ever stepped into a palace. If he had looked at his journey with human eyes, everything would have seemed unjust, betrayed by his own brothers, sold as a slave, falsely accused, though he lived uprightly, forgotten in prison after helping others. Perhaps around him, many people seemed freer, more favored, and less wounded, as though their lives were moving forward while his was being pushed backward. But my beloved child, the pit could not destroy the promise. Chains could not lock away the anointing, and prison could not stop me from leading a person into the very place I had appointed. When the time came, Joseph was not merely released from prison, he was placed where he could save an entire people in a famine. Later, he said, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Do you see? What others did to wound you is not greater than what I can do to redeem you. Therefore, do not judge your path too quickly while you are still in the middle of the story. One dark chapter does not have the right to conclude the whole book. One hidden season does not mean your light has gone out. One delay does not mean the promise has been canceled. I see what you have not yet seen. Connect the pieces you thought were scattered, and use even the winding roads to bring you to a place your heart has not yet been able to imagine. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. I do not begin something within you only to abandon it because you seem slower than others. I do not forget your name in the crowd. I do not lose the plan for your life simply because you have not yet seen outward signs. In my hands, even waiting has its holy work. Perhaps you are tired because you feel you do not stand out. Perhaps you see others being named, lifted up, and recognized, while you are still being faithful in small things no one knows about. But I ask you with tenderness and truth, are you seeking the gaze of people, or are you seeking formation in my hands? Human attention may feel warm for a moment, but it changes with the day, with benefit, with emotion, with what others can see on the outside. But what I form within you has eternal value. Being seen does not always mean being prepared. Being applauded does not always mean being sent. Being lifted up too early, without depth within, can weary a soul even more than hiddenness. Before honor is humility, Proverbs 15:33. If I am working in the secret place, do not despise that hidden place. Many of the most precious vessels are shaped in the quiet hands of the potter. I have not called you to become fireworks, brilliant for a moment and then gone in smoke. I have called you to become a steady lamp, one that may not astonish the crowd in an instant, but still gives light when the darkness remains long. Fireworks need an explosion to be noticed. A lamp needs oil to be sustained. Therefore, do not ask me only to make you stand out. Ask me to fill you with oil. Do not only ask to be placed high, ask to be strengthened from within. Do not only ask that many people see you, ask that the light within you will not go out when no one is watching. The light of the righteous rejoices, Proverbs 13:9. And that light does not need to envy another light. Each lamp is placed in its own position, for its own darkness, in its own appointed time that I know well. Remember the 5 wise virgins in the story Christ told. They did not merely have lamps, they had oil in reserve. When the cry of the bridegroom rang out at midnight, what distinguished them was not the outward appearance of the lamps, but what had been quietly prepared within. Matthew 25:1-13. My beloved child, there are seasons when I do not make you shine brighter before others, because I am adding oil within you. That oil is poured through prayer, through testing, through obedience when no one is watching, through faithfulness in ordinary days, through the times when you choose gentleness instead of bitterness, truth instead of performance, waiting on me instead of forcing a door open. When night comes, what keeps the lamp burning is not the praise of the crowd, but the oil prepared in the secret place. Therefore, do not let comparison steal your peace. Comparison causes you to leave the portion of land I have entrusted to you in order to stand and stare at someone else's garden. It makes you forget to water the seed in your own hand because you are busy counting the fruit on another person's tree. It makes you think I love unfairly, when in truth I am tending every soul according to its own need, rhythm, and mission. We have different gifts, according to the grace given to each of us. Romans 12:6. No one lacks worth simply because their gift is not the same as another's. No one is forgotten simply because their season of blooming comes later. A flower that blooms in its appointed season does not need to apologize for not blooming sooner. A lamp burning in its rightful place does not need to envy the lamp set higher. What matters is not whom you resemble, but whether you are faithful to what I have placed within you. If today you feel slow, bring that feeling to me instead of letting it become an accusation against you. If you feel small, remember that I often use what is small to shame what seems great. I use the staff in Moses' hand, the stone in David's hand, the handful of flour and little oil of the widow, and the 5 loaves and 2 fish of a child. I do not need you to have a shape that impresses the world before I can use you. I desire a heart that knows it belongs to me, that knows how to listen, that knows how to let me multiply what it offers. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Luke 16:10. Your quiet faithfulness today is not secondary. It is the foundation of what I can entrust to you tomorrow. And when you have not yet seen promotion, do not quickly assume that I am not working. There are promotions that begin with purification, not with reputation. There are doors that open within before they open outwardly. There are losses that seem to lower you, but in truth are cutting away what would burden you on the road ahead. Joseph had to lose his robe of many colors before he wore the garments of authority in Egypt, yet through that process, he learned wisdom, purity, endurance, and the ability to forgive. In the same way, what you think has been taken from you may be the place where I am freeing you from an identity too small for you. What you think is delay may be the place where I am protecting the promise from ripening too soon. What you think is forgetfulness may be the place where I am hiding you until the appointed hour. So, my beloved child, return to your own portion of land in peace. Stop looking to the left and to the right to measure the speed of your soul. Stop asking why someone else has received something before you, and begin asking what I am forming within you through this season. Tend your lamp. Keep your oil. Let your light burn steadily, without noise, without competition, without needing everyone's approval before you believe that you have value. I see you in the secret place. I remember every good thing you do in silence. I know every time you choose faithfulness when your heart also wants to give up. And I speak to you. Nothing I do is accidental. No tear is forgotten. No waiting day is wasted. No promise of mine loses its power simply because time has passed. Stand firm like the lamp of the righteous. For the light I have placed within you does not need to resemble anyone else's in order to shine brightly. It only needs to remain in me. And in due season, it will illuminate the place I have appointed. Beloved child, there are moments when you wait for an answer to arrive, like a loud sound, like something powerful enough to force you to believe and immediately take action. But I gently speak to you. The way I lead is not built upon noise, but upon deep, inward clarity. What I give does not sweep you away in temporary emotion. It causes you to pause, breathe slowly, and recognize, For when your heart is brought into a place of stillness, only then can you truly discern what is a call from heaven and what is merely the echo of anxiety within. As it is written, "In quietness and in trust shall be your strength." Isaiah 30:15. And it is in that quietness that I touch you, not to startle you, but to make you steadfast. And when you begin to grow familiar with the way I speak, you will realize that confirmation does not make you burn brightly for only a moment, but causes you to shine little by little. It is like the dawn, not hurried yet unstoppable. The light gradually spreads, causing everything that was once unclear to become distinct. I do not lead you through pressure, because what is pressured often comes from fear. I lead you through peace, because what comes from me always carries stability. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:7. And when that peace covers you, you no longer need a great sign in order to believe, because your heart has been placed rightly. But my dear child, what makes you easily confused is not that I am not speaking, but that you have become accustomed to looking for me in forms that are no longer fitting. You think that if nothing extraordinary happens, then I have not confirmed it. But I ask you, if a stream of water flows continually, does it need to shout in order to prove its presence? In the same way, my guidance does not need to be showy in order to be real. It is enduring, consistent, and profound. When an idea returns to your heart again and again, with peace accompanying it, when a direction makes you feel lighter rather than burdened, when a decision brings stillness to your soul rather than confusion to your mind, that is not coincidence. That is the way I place my seal upon you. Remember, you are not called to chase emotional heights, but to walk in recognition. There are things that excite you yet do not last, and there are things that quiet you yet have deep roots. I do not build your life upon what can be easily shaken. I am building you upon a foundation that can stand firm through every season. The wise man built his house upon the rock, Matthew 7:24. And that rock is not loud signs, but the hearing and obeying of my voice, even when no one else sees it. Then there will come a time when you look back and realize this. The moments in which I confirmed things for you were not the times when you were driven by force, but the times when you were inwardly adjusted. I do not only show you the way, I also realign the rhythm within you so that you can walk rightly. For if the rhythm of your heart is still racing after anxiety, you will hear wrongly, even when I speak rightly. But when I quiet your heart, you begin to hear in a different way, not through tension, but through trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. And when you no longer rely on your own thoughts, you will see that my voice becomes clearer than any sign you have ever sought. There is a story you need to keep within your heart. The prophet Elijah once stood in the midst of a crisis, and he, too, looked for me in powerful things. A great wind passed by, tearing the mountains and breaking the rocks in pieces. But I was not in the wind. An earthquake came, but I was not in the earthquake. A fire blazed forth, but I was not in the fire either. Then, after all of it, there came a gentle whisper, and in that, I revealed myself. 1 Kings 19:11-12. Do you see? What you thought was too small may be the very place I choose to speak, not because I am weak, but because I want you to learn to listen by the Spirit, not by agitation. Therefore, do not worry that you will miss me simply because you do not see something great happening. If your heart is becoming clearer, if you are beginning to discern what brings life and what brings heaviness, if you see yourself gradually being directed toward a path with enduring peace, then you are not being left behind. You are being led, and what I am doing within you is not temporary. It is shaping you from the inside out. Moreover, my timing is never mistaken. You may feel that things are slow, but I am not slow. You may think you are late, but I never arrive too late. Everything I confirm to you is placed into the exact moment when you are able to carry it without breaking beneath its weight. He has made everything beautiful in its time, Ecclesiastes 3:11. And that beauty is not found in speed, but in fullness. If I gave it to you too soon, you would not yet be steady enough to hold it. If I gave it to you too late, you would lose heart. But I am the one who knows every depth within you. So I place everything at the right time. When you are able to stand firm, understand that I do not confirm something merely to make you feel strong for a moment, but to make you steadfast for the entire journey. What comes from me does not confuse your mind. It brings clarity. It does not make you struggle to hold on. It allows you to rest as you walk. When you are moving in the right direction, you do not need to labor to convince yourself. You simply know. That knowing is not loud, but it cannot be shaken. So, beloved child, when you stand before a choice, do not ask what excites you the most. Ask what brings the deepest peace to your heart. Do not search for a loud echo. Seek a deep confirmation. Do not run after outward signs. Listen for the inward adjustment. For I am there not to overwhelm you, but to mature you. And when you learn to recognize me in the silence, you will no longer fear losing your way, because you will no longer depend on what your eyes can see, but will walk by the recognition that comes from me. Beloved child, understand this clearly from the deepest place of your soul. I never lead you through chaos, nor do I place you at crossroads that leave you confused. Everything I do carries a holy order, a peace with clear direction. When I speak, I do not create pressure that forces you to choose in haste. I quiet your heart so that you can see the way. As it is written, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Psalm 32:8. And that promise is not merely a line of scripture, but a reality actively moving in your life. I teach you, not through pressure, but through gentle yet certain guidance. Therefore, when you find that you are no longer being stretched painfully between many choices, when you are no longer shaken by the voices around you, that is not emptiness. It is a sign that I am establishing clarity within you. I do not need to speak louder than everything else in order for you to hear me. I only need to make my voice more familiar than every other voice. And when you become familiar with my voice, you will no longer have to run everywhere searching for an answer, because the answer will gradually take shape as a deep inner knowing within your heart. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. And you are the one who is learning to recognize that voice, not through strained reasoning, but through a living connection. Let me say this to you gently yet clearly. Do not confuse my confirmation with a powerful but temporary feeling. What comes from an emotional surge often fades quickly, but what comes from me will remain, grow, and become steady over time. When I confirm, I do not push you into agitation. I bring you into conscious stillness. In that stillness, you are no longer carried away by speculation, but begin to see each step clearly. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. And it is in that stillness that you realize I am not only speaking, I am reshaping you. There are changes you do not recognize immediately, yet they are taking place within you day by day. The things that once made you restless no longer shake you as they did before. The thoughts that once filled you with anxiety are gradually losing their weight. That is not because your circumstances have become perfect, but because I am making your heart more steadfast than your circumstances. When peace begins to remain longer than worry, When clarity begins to replace uncertainty, when you no longer have to strive to understand and yet still understand, that is the sign that I am working within you. Quietly, yet powerfully. Remember the story of Samuel when he was still a child. He heard a voice calling in the night, but at first he did not recognize that it was me. He ran to his teacher several times, until he was instructed in how to listen. And when he finally answered, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," 1 Samuel 3:10. From that moment onward, he began to step into a new awareness. You are the same. You are learning to distinguish my voice among many other voices. Not because I am far away, but because you are being matured in your ability to hear. And when you learn this, you will no longer be confused each time you must make a choice, because you will know how to pause, listen, and recognize, my child, I have never left you in any stage of this journey. When you stand at the crossroads, I do not remain far off. Merely watching, I am right there within your heart, adjusting every rhythm of thought, every movement of emotion, so that you will not drift away from the appointed path. I do not leave you to manage by yourself in the darkness, for my light never goes out. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. And that light does not always shine far ahead over the entire road, but it is always enough for you to take each step steadily. Therefore, when you recognize that the peace within you no longer depends on outward circumstances, that is when you are touching a new depth in your relationship with me. For true peace does not come from everything around you being stable, but from my presence abiding within you. When you become aware of that presence, you will no longer need to search for assurance from the outside. You will know that even though what lies ahead is not yet completely clear, the one who is leading you is completely trustworthy. So do not hurry to demand a greater sign. And do not think that I must do something extraordinary in order to prove that I am with you. Look instead into your own heart. If it is gradually becoming still, if it is becoming clearer, if it is being established in a stability you did not have before, then you have already received confirmation. Not through a loud sound, but through a deep inward transformation that cannot be imitated. And then, as you continue walking in this awareness, you will understand something important. The greatest confirmation is not what you see, but what you are becoming. When you become more steadfast, clearer, and more peaceful, that is the evidence that I am leading you. I am with you, and I am opening the way for you to step into what was prepared for you before you could fully understand it. Keep walking, beloved child, not by straining yourself to search, but by gentle trust. For I do not merely point out the way I walk with you upon that very path. Beloved child, there are times when you stand in the midst of silence and think you have been forgotten, as though every prayer has fallen into an empty space with no answer returning. But I tell you the truth, in those spaces that seem empty, I am doing a delicate work that your eyes cannot yet see. I am not silent because I am distant, but because I am adjusting the sensitivity of your soul, so that you will no longer react according to fear, but begin to recognize, according to guidance, as it is written, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, "This is the way. Walk in it," Isaiah 30:21. And in order for you to hear that voice, I must make the inside of you quiet enough to discern. Therefore, do not quickly conclude that delay is a sign of absence. I am not bound by time in the way you think. Yet I am precise with the inward process taking place within you. If you receive something too early, while your heart has not yet been formed, you may run ahead of my wisdom and turn what is holy into a burden. But if you feel as though you have been waiting longer than expected, understand that I am holding you back, not to disappoint you, but to protect you from directions that appear right yet do not belong to you. The Lord waits to be gracious to you, Isaiah 30:18. And that waiting is not meaningless delay, but purposeful preparation. You need to understand a deeper truth. Confirmation is not a reward for how long you have endured, but the fruit of being formed in the right way. I do not give something merely because you have waited long enough, but because you have become ready to carry it without distorting its original purpose. There are things that are very sacred, and if they are placed into a mind still governed by temporary emotion, they will be misunderstood and misused. Therefore, in the very process of waiting, I am shaping, softening, and purifying you, so that what I entrust to you will not become what you lose. The potter reworked the vessel as it seemed good to him, Jeremiah 18:4. And you are the vessel I am patiently forming. Remember Abraham, the one who received the promise of descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven. He did not simply receive the promise and immediately see the result. He walked through seasons in which every sign seemed to contradict what had been spoken. There were nights when he looked up at the sky, saw countless stars, and yet his heart still faced the emptiness of the present. But in those very nights, I was doing something deeper than giving him a son. I was building in him a faith that did not depend on what the eyes could see. Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, Genesis 15:6. And that faith was refined, not in fullness, but in waiting. In the same way, my dear child, I am doing within you something you cannot yet put into words. I am not only preparing the answer for you, I am also preparing you, so that when the answer comes, you will not drift away from its original purpose. If I only gave you what you wanted without preparing your heart, you would use it according to your own way. But I want what I give to become lasting life within you, not a passing emotional moment. Therefore, I do not keep my word far from you, but at the necessary distance to lead you into maturity. My child, do not confuse silence with rejection. Rejection cuts off hope, but my silence nurtures something deeper. It draws you away from dependence on outward signs and brings you into inward recognition. When you no longer see immediately, you begin to learn trust. When you no longer hear as clearly as before, you begin to listen more deeply. And in that very process, the relationship between you and me is no longer built on what you receive, but on my presence itself. The righteous shall live by faith, Romans 1:17. And that faith is born not when everything is clear, but when you still choose to believe, even before you see. Look back into your own heart, and you will realize that although your circumstances have not yet completely changed, something within you has already begun to change. A new steadfastness is being formed. A clearer discernment is arising between what comes from fear and what comes from peace. This is not coincidence. It is a sign that I am working deep within you, beyond what your eyes can perceive. I am teaching you not only to hear my voice, but also to recognize the nature of my voice, a voice that does not create pressure, does not push you into panic, but leads you into clarity and stability. Therefore, beloved child, do not regard the quiet spaces as abandonment, and do not view delay as failure. I am working on a deeper level, in a place where you have not yet learned to see before. I am holding you in such a state that when what I have promised is revealed, it will not overwhelm you or cause you to lose your direction, but will lift you into the very position appointed for you. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion until the day of Jesus Christ, Philippians 1:6. And I never leave unfinished the work I have begun within you. So be at peace. Let waiting become the place where you mature, not the place where you doubt. Let silence become the space where you learn to listen, not the place where you lose hope. For I am still here, not leaving you, not forgetting you, not delaying as you imagine, but leading you step by step into the fullness I ordained for you from the beginning. Beloved child, look back slowly, and you will recognize something you once easily overlooked. I have never come to you through a shaking that leaves you stunned, but through a light that gradually opens within your mind. Even when you thought you were alone on the journey, I was still there, quietly walking with every step you took. It is only that when your heart was still covered by impatience and the marks of disappointment, you could not recognize that presence. But when I quiet what is within you, when that mist begins to lift, you begin to see, not because I have just arrived, but because you have begun to see more clearly. Open my eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of your law. Psalm 119:18. And that opening of the eyes is not an explosive moment, but a gentle yet certain process. Therefore, when I confirm something in your life, it does not come like a whirlwind that sweeps you away, but like a deep repositioning within the soul. You are not pushed into panic, nor forced to understand everything immediately. Rather, you are placed into such peace that you recognize you are standing in the right place. You no longer need to try to convince yourself, you simply know. And that knowing is not loud, but steady. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. And when you truly recognize this, your heart will speak silently. You have never been abandoned, never wandered out of the hand of the one who is leading you. I do not confirm so that you will be carried away by emotional intensity, for the things that come from emotion often fade quickly. I confirm so that you may stand firm. What I do within you is not meant to make you feel strong for a moment, but to make you steadfast through every season. It is like a traveler moving through dry land, thinking he has lost his way, until he sees a small light on the horizon. That light is not so bright that it blinds his eyes, but it is enough to say that he is still walking in the right direction. And that very sufficiency, not too much, not too little, is the way I lead you. Remember the story of the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. They walked in confusion, their hearts heavy with disappointment over what they did not yet understand. I walked with them the entire way, speaking with them and explaining the scriptures to them. Yet they did not recognize me immediately. Only when their hearts were opened, only when their eyes were enlightened, did they understand that I had never left them for even one step. Luke 24:13-31. You are the same. There are stretches of road where you think you are walking alone, but in truth, I am right beside you, waiting for the moment when your heart becomes still enough to recognize me. My child, the greatest change you are going through is not found in the circumstances around you, but in your very ability to listen. I am making your spiritual ears purer. The noises that once pulled you away no longer have the same power as before. The invitations that once made you waver are now losing their attraction, not because the outside world has become silent, but because the inside of you has been reordered. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Revelation 2:7. And you are entering a season in which hearing is no longer an emotional reaction, but a deep recognition. When you learn to listen in this way, you will know when to pause, even when everything around you urges you to move forward. You will know when to step out, even when you cannot yet see the whole road. And you will also know when to stand still, not because you are afraid, but because I am saying, be quiet and trust. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. Exodus 14:14. And in that silence, you are not losing your opportunity. You are being kept in divine precision. Therefore, do not search for great signs to confirm that I am with you. Look instead at the transformation taking place within you. If you find yourself more peaceful in the midst of things that once made you anxious, if you find yourself clearer without having to strive excessively, if you find yourself steadier even though your circumstances have not yet changed, then you are already in the place of confirmation. I am setting you in your rightful position, not through force, but through gentle guidance that cannot go astray. So, beloved child, continue walking with a light heart. Do not fear that you will miss me, for I am not hiding myself from you. I am only teaching you to see in a new way, to hear in a new way, and to live according to a new rhythm. And when you become familiar with that rhythm, you will no longer need loud sounds in order to believe. You will walk with a deep awareness that I am here. I am leading. And I have never released your hand even in the moments when you thought you were walking by yourself. Beloved child, quiet your heart and hear me speak with a firmness that cannot be shaken. You have not heard wrongly. What you are going through is not a wandering from the way, but a season in which what is right has not yet revealed its full form. There are times when the light is already present, but your eyes have not yet become accustomed to its intensity. So you think you are still in darkness, not because the light has changed, but because your position is being adjusted. As it is written, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. And I am teaching you not only to see the light, but also to recognize it even when it is not yet clear in the way you expected. Therefore, do not let delay cause you to doubt what I have planted in your heart. When the appointed time has not yet come, everything may appear scattered, as though it has not yet joined together into a complete picture. But I do not work in confusion. When the hour I have appointed opens, what once seemed unclear will arrange itself with precision, and you will recognize that I was there from the very beginning. For the vision awaits its appointed time. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. Habakkuk 2:3. What I have promised does not need you to force it into being. It needs you to trust long enough to see it revealed. Learn to recognize my seal, for I do not hide from you the marks of true guidance. Everything that comes from me carries a deep inward peace, not a passing comfort, but a stable foundation within you. When that peace is present, it does not depend on outward circumstances, nor is it broken by the changes around you. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Philippians 4:7. And that very guarding is evidence that you are within my guidance. Let me speak more clearly so that you will no longer be confused. If something draws you closer to me, makes you quieter, clearer, and no longer forces you to strive in order to understand, then that is my mark. I do not make you chase after answers. I place the answer within you as a recognition that gradually grows. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2-6. And that wisdom does not make you panic. It makes you steady. But if something pulls you into a whirlwind of anxiety, makes you rush to decide, causes you to keep doubting yourself, and robs you of peace, recognize that it does not come from me. I never lead you by pressure. I never use disorder to show you the way, for my paths are always illuminated, not by a blinding glare that overwhelms your eyes, but by a light sufficient for you to walk with certainty. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. Proverbs 4:18. And that light increases gradually, not abruptly, so that you may mature along with it. Remember the story of Joseph, who received dreams from me when he was young. Those dreams were true, yet the journey toward their fulfillment was filled with seasons in which everything seemed completely opposite to what had been spoken. Sold, misunderstood, imprisoned. Every circumstance could have caused him to doubt what he had heard. But I never withdrew what I had spoken. I was only leading him through the necessary depths so that when the time came, he would not merely enter the position, but stand firmly in it. And when all things were revealed, he could look back and say, God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. You are the same. What you are going through does not deny what I have spoken. It is preparing you so that it may be fulfilled in the right way. Beloved child, stop warring with yourself. Stop trying to force yourself to understand everything immediately. I do not require you to understand it all. I invite you to trust. When you trust, you are no longer pulled by conflicting voices. When you rest, you begin to hear more clearly. And when you hear clearly, you will walk not in compulsion, but in gentle certainty. Therefore, keep your heart in the peace I give. Do not exchange that peace for hurried answers. Do not leave the stillness simply because you want to see results more quickly. I am leading you not by the darkness of confusion, but by the light of clarity. And that light, even if it seems small at first, will lead you along the whole way if you faithfully follow it. Believe this, my child, I have never stopped speaking to you. I have never left you. And what I have placed within you will not be lost. It will grow, become clearer, and be revealed at the exact time I have appointed. You only need to remain in me, keep your heart still, and walk step by step in the peace that does not come from the world, but from me. Beloved child, there will come a day when you look back over the journey you have walked, and everything that once confused you will naturally come together into a clear picture. Then you will realize that there was not a single moment when I was absent, not a single sign that was accidental, and not a single delay that was meaningless. All of it is a symphony I am writing in your life, where every note has its place, and even the silences carry deep meaning. As it is written, we know that all things work together for good for those who love God. Romans 8:28. And this is not a phrase for you merely to comfort yourself. It is a truth already at work, even while you cannot yet see it fully. Therefore, do not continue turning inward to doubt yourself every time you are seeking me. True seeking does not lead you into disorder, but into simplicity. Learn to pause, not in order to overanalyze, but to ask one very simple yet powerful question. Does this draw you closer to me? For the standard of heaven is not found in complexity, but in the direction of the heart. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. James 4:8. And when you walk according to that standard, you will see that you do not need to grope wearily in order to find me. I have already been there. In every step you take, quiet yet clear. I am not the one who hides so that you must exhaust yourself searching, but the one who is present so that you may learn to recognize. My guidance does not confuse your mind, but brings you into an ever-increasing clarity. When you are walking in the right direction, you will not feel forced to understand everything at once, but will gradually see all things open according to a rhythm of peace. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. Proverbs 4:18. And you are within that process of light, not hurried, but certain. My dear child, let me touch the deepest place within your heart, the place where you have once battled with yourself. I know there have been seasons when you questioned yourself, doubted yourself, and even feared that you were walking in the wrong direction. You feared that the things you sensed were only imagination, that you were convincing yourself, or that you were mishearing a voice among countless other voices. But I speak to you with unwavering faithfulness. If you are not chasing temporary emotion, if you are not allowing ambition to lead the way, if you are not relying on the noise of the world to make your decisions, then what you are sensing deep within is not an illusion. It is an awakening that the Holy Spirit is carrying out within you. Remember the story of Samuel when he was still a child. when he heard a voice calling in the night but did not yet know that it was me. He did not understand immediately. He was mistaken, and he had to learn how to listen. But when he answered, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," 1 Samuel 3:10. From that moment on, my voice became clear in his life. You are the same. The fact that you are learning to discern is not a sign that you are wrong, but a sign that you are growing. I do not demand that you recognize everything from the beginning. I patiently teach you step by step, so that when you do recognize it, you will stand firmly in that awareness. What I am doing within you is not taking place on the surface, where emotions easily waver, but in the deep place that is not governed by fear or haste. I am touching the place you cannot touch by yourself, bringing clarity to things that reason alone cannot explain. The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit, Romans 8:16. And that witness does not come as a noise, but as a quiet certainty that cannot be shaken. Therefore, do not be afraid when you do not have all the answers immediately. I have not called you to understand everything. I have called you to trust. When you trust, you will no longer be carried away by repeated doubts. When you remain in me, you will no longer need confirmation from every direction. The greatest confirmation will come from within you, a peace that cannot be fabricated, a clarity that needs no argument, a steadiness that does not depend on circumstances. Let your heart rest in this truth. You are not walking alone. You have never walked alone. Even when you thought you were taking steps by yourself, I was still there, guiding the smallest movements of your life. And as you continue to walk in this awareness, you will gradually see that everything is coming together, not by your own effort, but by my faithfulness. So, beloved child, lay down the doubt that has been making you weary. Hold on to simplicity of heart. Walk with a gentle yet profound question. Does this bring you closer to me? And when you remain faithful to that question, you will no longer lose your direction. For I, the one who is with you, will always lead you into the place where there is light, where there is peace, and where you become whole within the eternal plan I have appointed for you. Beloved child, recognize this with a quiet heart. I am not bringing you into a strange reality, nor am I placing within you something that does not belong to you. What I am doing is opening your eyes so that you may rightly see what has always existed in my plan for you. I am not changing the nature of the path. I am changing your perspective so that what once seemed faint may now become clear. As it is written, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. Luke 24:31. Not because I had just appeared, but because they had been brought into a position to see what had always been there. Therefore, when you look back and realize that you now understand more clearly the things that once confused you, do not think that reality itself has changed. You have been lifted into greater awareness. I have brought you out of the limitations of your old way of seeing, where you could only perceive scattered fragments, and I have led you into a depth where everything begins to connect. The relationships that once made you uncertain, the decisions that once made you hesitate, the roads that once made you feel lost, now they appear in their true form. Not because they have suddenly changed, but because the light within you has been adjusted. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. Psalm 36:9. And that very light is causing you to see clearly. Understand that I do not illuminate everything at once, because I know your limits and the rhythm of your growth. There are seasons when I show you only a small part, not to hide from you, but to keep you from being overwhelmed. I lead you step by step, so that everything you see can be held firmly within your heart. Then there will be moments when I broaden your vision, so that you begin to recognize the connections and see how things that once seemed separate are actually working together. And then, At the time I have appointed, I will show you the whole picture, not to surprise you, but to confirm that I have been leading you from beginning to end. Remember the story of Joseph? When he was young and received dreams, he could not yet fully understand. What I showed him was only a part, an unfinished image. After that came years in which he passed through circumstances that seemed unrelated, being sold, being forgotten, being tested. But I never lost control of a single detail. Every stage was part of the preparation. And when the time came, when he stood in the position I had appointed for him, everything that had come before suddenly connected into a clear flow. He could look back and understand that nothing had been accidental, and nothing had been wasted. God sent me before you to preserve life. Genesis 45:7. You are the same. What you are gradually coming to understand is not the changing of your circumstances, but the expanding of the ability to see that I am creating within you. My child, every time you recognize something you did not see before, it is a sign that the light within you is increasing. I do not give light randomly. I adjust it according to each season of your journey. When you are in the early stage, I show you enough to keep walking. When you grow more mature, I broaden your sight so that you may understand more deeply. And when you are steady enough, I allow you to see the whole landscape, so that you may recognize that no step you have taken has been meaningless. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face, Corinthians 13:2, and you are moving from what is dim toward what is clear, one step at a time. Do not be afraid when you do not yet see everything. Do not think that I am withholding something from you. I am simply leading you in a way that your soul can receive without being overwhelmed. If I showed you everything all at once, you would not be able to stand firm. But when I reveal it piece by piece, you do not only see, you also mature in what you see. And that very maturity causes what I reveal to become not merely knowledge, but life within you. Therefore, let your heart be at peace in this process. When you find yourself gradually understanding more clearly the things that once seemed vague, know that I am working. When you recognize connections you did not see before, know that I am leading you deeper. And when one day you see the complete picture, you will no longer ask, why? But will speak with recognition. You were always there, guiding every detail, every step, every moment. So, beloved child, continue walking with trust. Do not force yourself to understand everything immediately. Let my light work within you according to my rhythm. For I am not only showing you the path, I am making you into someone who can walk firmly upon that path. And as you walk in my light, you will not only see more clearly, you will also become clearer in the very purpose I placed within you from the beginning. Beloved child, let this image settle deeply within your heart, in the middle of a space filled with noise, where everything is moving and pulling you in many different directions. You still stand there, and then you meet my gaze. No words are needed. No powerful gesture is required, only one look. Yet in the very moment you recognize that gaze, something changes within you. You are no longer panicked, not because the circumstances around you have become quiet, but because you know you are not lost. You know you are seen and held in a safe place. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. Isaiah 41:10. And that presence does not always remove the circumstance, but it always establishes a firm foundation within your soul. That is the way I work in your life. I do not necessarily remove every noise around you immediately, but I place within you a stable axis, a point of support that cannot be shaken by what happens externally. When that axis is established, you are no longer swept away by every sound, every movement, every pressure. You still hear, you still see, but you are no longer controlled. You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Isaiah 26:3. And it is that very peace that keeps you from losing yourself in the midst of every disturbance. Therefore, learn to discern my voice, not through tension, but through recognition. I never urge you into hurried reactions. I do not lead you through panic, nor do I push you into a state where you must decide immediately while your heart is still troubled. God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. 1 Corinthians 14:33. So whatever causes you to lose clarity, whatever rushes you so much that you can no longer remain at peace, recognize this: that is not me speaking. Let me open a deeper distinction for you. What comes from me does not require you to strain in order to understand. It does not force you to act immediately to prove anything. It comes with a quiet certainty, not loud, yet undeniable. When I unsend you, you will sense a stable peace accompanying it, like a stream of water flowing steadily without interruption. But when something does not belong to me, even if it appears right on the surface, it will pull you out of inward rest, making you tense, hurried, and continually doubtful of yourself. For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught. Proverbs 3:26. And that protection often begins with me, keeping your heart in peace. My child, I do not want you to live by analyzing every detail until you are exhausted. I am teaching you another way, a way rooted in familiarity. When you remain in my presence long enough, you will begin to recognize my rhythm, not through strained reasoning, but through deep perception. You will know what is mine, not because you can prove it, but because it carries the mark that only I can create, a peace that cannot be fabricated, a clarity that does not pressure, a steadiness that does not depend on circumstance. Remember the story of Elijah when he sought me among powerful manifestations. A great wind passed by, an earthquake shook the ground, and fire blazed forth, but I was not in those things. Then came a gentle, quiet whisper, and in that I revealed myself. 1 Kings 19:11-12. Do you see? I do not need to be loud in order to be recognized. I only need you to be still enough to hear. And when you learn to recognize me in that gentleness, you will no longer be deceived by things that are noisy yet empty. Therefore, do not be afraid if you do not have the strong signs you once expected. Look into your heart if you are being drawn into quietness, if you are becoming clearer without having to strive. If you are sensing an inexplicable stability, then you are within my guidance. I do not need to make everything around you change immediately in order to prove that I am here. I only need to place within you a foundation that nothing outside can destroy. So, beloved child, continue to abide in me. Do not run after voices that make you hurry. Do not let pressure push you out of rest. Learn to recognize me through an ever-deepening familiarity, like a child recognizing the voice of his father among countless other sounds. And when you become familiar with my rhythm, you will no longer need to worry that you will mishear. For my voice will become the clearest thing in your life, not because it is the loudest, but because it is the truest. Beloved child, let me lead you to look deeply into what I placed within you from the beginning. When you enter a place, even before you need to judge or analyze it, you still know something, an atmosphere that is either light or heavy, either open or closed. That recognition does not come from reason, but from a deeper layer within you, where your soul responds before words have time to form. And I tell you, this is not accidental. I placed that ability within you. And now I am making it more refined and clearer through each stage of your growth. The spiritual person judges all things. 1 Corinthians 2:15. And that judgment is not dry analysis, but a living recognition from within. Therefore, Do not take lightly the deep responses within your heart. When you hear something, when you stand before a direction, if your soul suddenly opens, if there is a gentle widening, a peace that needs no explanation, a sense of being placed rightly, recognize that I am touching you. I do not need to overwhelm you in order to confirm. I only need to place within you a steadiness that nothing external can imitate. The peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds, Philippians 4:7. And that very guarding is my seal, not emotional intensity, but quiet steadfastness. But likewise, my dear child, if something causes your soul to contract, if you feel a subtle jolt that is difficult to name, a heaviness descending, a vague darkness covering the inside of you, do not ignore it. That is not your weakness, but a protective system I have placed within you. I do not want you to rely only on reason when making decisions, because reason can be influenced by many things, but your spirit, when connected with me, will respond more truthfully. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life, Proverbs 4:23. And from that very place, I am speaking to you in the deepest way. I am training you not to become more tense in discernment, but to become more familiar with my rhythm. When you remain in me long enough, you will not need to overanalyze in order to know what is right. You will sense it not according to surface emotion, but according to a deep inner recognition. What comes from me will not coerce you, will not take away your rest, and will not pull you into confusion. It will keep you in a state of steady peace, even when you do not yet understand everything. The shepherd calls his own sheep by name, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. John 10:3-4. And you are learning to become familiar with that voice, not through theory, but through a living relationship. Remember Ezekiel when I led him into the valley filled with dry bones. Before his eyes was a hopeless scene, with no sign of life. If he had relied on logic, he would not have seen a way forward. If he had relied on emotion, he would have been overwhelmed. But I did not require him to understand the entire process. I spoke one step at a time, and he obeyed each word. When he prophesied, according to what I had spoken, the bones began to come together. Sinews and flesh were formed, and the breath of life returned. Ezekiel 37:1-10. Do you see? Discernment does not always begin with understanding beforehand, but with recognizing the right voice to follow. Beloved child, I do not expect you to become someone who is immediately certain about every detail. I am teaching you something deeper, to trust the recognition I have placed within you. When you learn to listen to the response of your own spirit, you will no longer be pulled away by eloquent yet empty words. You will no longer be deceived by things that appear right, but carry no life. For what comes from me always carries life, even when it is gentle, even when it is not loud. Therefore, when you step into any circumstance, do not ask only what seems most reasonable. Listen. Is your spirit opening, or is it contracting? Are you being drawn into peace, or pushed into tension? That is the language I am using to speak to you. And when you remain faithful to that language, you will no longer have to grope through uncertainty. You will walk, one step at a time, with an increasingly clear recognition that I am leading you not through noise, but through the life moving within you. Beloved child, there are times when you come to me with a very clear question in your heart. Where should I go? Which direction should I choose? But in the gentleness of the one who never changes, do not rush to answer in the way you expect. I use the very moment of your seeking to reset a deeper foundation within you that you have never been lost. You may feel as though you are standing at many crossroads, but in my eyes, you are not a drifting soul. I have called you by your name. You are mine, Isaiah 43:1. And when I call you by your very name, it means I know exactly where you are. I know what you are passing through, and I have not taken my eyes off you. Therefore, before you search for direction, let your heart rest in this truth. You are being held, not held from a distance, but enclosed within a spiritual orbit I established beforehand. The steps you have taken, the choices you have weighed, even the times when you felt hesitant, all of them are within my loving observation. A man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths, Proverbs 5:21. And that pondering is not to condemn you, but to lead you in the proper rhythm of my intention. When I confirm you, I am not only speaking about what will happen ahead, I am touching the deepest part of your soul and declaring something you need to remember. You are not forgotten. There is no moment when you fall out of my flow. There is no second in which you are overlooked. My confirmation is not merely instruction, it is a living seal, a reminder that you are seen, heard, and guided step by step. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous and his ears toward their cry, Psalm 34:15. And that means that even when you do not yet see the answer, I am already there, listening and acting. Remember the story of the shepherd who went to find the lost sheep. When one sheep left the flock, the shepherd did not stand still and wait for it to find its own way back. He went out, searched, and when he found it, he placed the sheep upon his shoulders and brought it home. Luke 15:4-5. But my child, I want you to understand this more deeply. You are not a sheep left abandoned until I remember you. From the beginning, you have been within my sight, and even when you thought you were walking alone, I was still there, not only to find you if you became lost, but to keep you even when you had not yet realized you were being kept. What I am doing within you is not a temporary intervention, but a continual leading. I do not step in and then withdraw, I remain. I do not merely speak and then become absent, I continue to guide. There are times when you do not feel it clearly, but my presence does not depend on your feeling. I am with you always, to the end of the age, Matthew 28:20. And that always has no empty spaces, no interruptions, no moment in which you are left behind. Therefore, when you receive confirmation from me, do not see it only as an answer to a choice. See it as an affirmation of who you are, that you belong to me, that you are within the flow of heaven's intention, and that you are not separated from the plan I have appointed. That confirmation does not only open the way ahead, it also restores your identity within. When you know that you belong to me, you no longer fear losing your way. For wherever you are still in my hand. Beloved child, let this truth become the place where you stand firm. When you face a decision, do not begin from the fear that you might be wrong. Begin from the trust that I am with you in that very moment. I am not standing outside, observing you as you choose. I am within you, guiding every movement of your heart. And when you walk from that trust, you will recognize that you do not need to strain to find the way, because the one who leads the way is right there within you. So be at peace. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are not separated from my flow. Every step you take is covered. Every decision you face is upheld by me. And every moment you live is held within my unfailing presence. Continue walking, not with anxiety, but with rest, because I am there. I have been there, and I will always be there, leading you along the entire path I appointed for you from before eternity. Beloved child, hear me with a heart that no longer needs to defend itself. I did not place you in this moment so that you would collapse, nor did I bring you to this position so that you would be crushed by something beyond your capacity. If I lead you into it, I myself will keep you standing within it. You often look at yourself through what is lacking, through the feeling that you are not enough. But I do not measure you by what you lack. I measure you by my presence, covering and working within you. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. What you call not being ready, I call the place where I will reveal myself and make you sufficient. Therefore, do not be afraid when you step into a space unfamiliar to you, a responsibility you have never carried, or a depth you have never touched before. I do not bring you there so that you may prove yourself, but so that you may experience me as the one who upholds you. When you stop measuring yourself by old standards, you will begin to stand in a new identity where you no longer rely on your own ability, but on my presence. I am with you, fear not. For I am your God, I will strengthen you. Isaiah 41:10. And that strengthening is not a single moment, but a continual flow. Now, let me do something deeper within you. I speak and open your eyes not only so that you may see the road ahead, but so that you may see the true nature of everything around you. I open your eyes so that you will no longer confuse what belongs to me with what only resembles me in outward form. For there are things that look reasonable and sound right, yet do not carry my life. Test the spirits to see whether they are from God. 1 John 4:1. And that testing is not done through argument, but through the light I have placed within you. When your spiritual eyes are opened, you will realize that you no longer need to live by anxious predictions. You will no longer be bound by questions of what if and what happens if, because you will begin to see my hand at work, even in the present moment. Recognition is not predicting the future. It is seeing clearly the guidance that is happening right now. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5-7. And that faith opens your eyes to see what ordinary vision cannot perceive. My child, when I open your eyes, you will also see yourself again in my light. You will realize that you are not as weak as you once thought. The limitations you once believed were true will lose their power when the light shines upon them. Darkness has no power of its own. It exists only where light has not yet been recognized. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. When you see my light, the darkness will withdraw, not because you wrestle against it, but because it no longer has a place to stand. Remember the story of Elisha and his servant. When they were surrounded by enemy forces, the servant was afraid because he could only see what stood against them. But Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." 2 Kings 6:17. And when his eyes were opened, he saw the mountain full of horses and chariots of fire all around a reality that had always been there, though he had not recognized it before. You are the same. I do not need to create something new in order to protect you. I only need to open your eyes so that you may see what I have already placed around you. So, beloved child, the opening of eyes that I give is not only so that you may see the way, but so that you may see your position in me. You will no longer feel lost, because you will recognize that you are right within the process I am carrying out. You are not being left behind, nor are you being pushed into a place that does not belong to you. You are being held, guided, and positioned within eternal intention. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Psalm 138:8. And that work includes placing you in the right place, at the right time, in the right role. Therefore, from this point onward, continue walking with a new awareness. Do not live by vague assumptions anymore. Do not let fear of the future blind you to what I am doing in the present. Live in the light I have placed within you, a light that does not merely show you the road, but establishes you in the authority I have appointed. When you walk in that light, you will not only see more clearly, you will also become more steadfast. You will not only move in the right direction, you will also stand in the right position. Be at peace. My child, I am here. I am leading you, and the light I have placed within you will not only guide you through this journey, but will also make you one who carries that light, someone no longer defined by old limitations, but by my living presence within you, with you, and through you, until everything I have appointed is fully completed. Beloved child, pause for a moment and look deeply at what is taking place within you. When you have to strain too much to convince yourself, when you have to turn your thoughts over and over in order to make it right, when your heart is stretched between many directions and cannot find a place of rest, that is not a sign that you are moving closer to clarity. It is the moment when I am gently calling you to stop, not to condemn you, but to teach you something deeper. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. For true recognition does not come from force, but from the stillness where I can touch you. Do not quickly conclude that you are wrong when you fall into that state. In those very moments of confusion, I am training you to distinguish between my voice and the voice of inward disturbance. My voice does not require you to strive in order to believe. It carries a gentle certainty. But the voice of disturbance always demands that you make it right, that you reassure yourself, that you run in circles through your thoughts with no place to rest. I never lead you into that spiral. For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. 1 Corinthians 14:33. And wherever I am present, there is order, rhythm, and steadiness. My child, let me open to you a deeper spiritual principle. Discernment does not come only from what you understand, but from the spiritual atmosphere of what you are facing. There is an atmosphere hidden behind every word, every decision, every direction. I am not calling you merely to look at the surface. I am calling you to learn to sense what is operating beneath it. The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, Proverbs 14:8. And that understanding is not merely analysis, but recognition through a soul connected with me. As you walk more deeply in me, you will recognize a difference that is very subtle, yet very real. There are things that sound reasonable, logical, and persuasive, yet your soul contracts, as though something within you is quietly saying, "This is not it." Do not ignore that feeling. It is not weakness, but a warning I have placed within you. On the other hand, there are things that are not loud, not impressive, yet they carry a deep stillness, a sense that you are being placed exactly where you belong. The peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds, Philippians 4:7. And that very peace is a seal that cannot be imitated. Remember David when he had to face many choices and many voices around him. He did not rely only on his own wisdom. He continually inquired of me, continually sought confirmation from my presence. There were times when he listened to me and prevailed, and there were times when he acted according to his own thoughts and had to face the consequences. But through each of those moments, I was teaching him this: not everything that appears right comes from me. And when he learned to return and ask me, he began to discern more clearly. Seek the Lord and his strength. Seek his face continually. Psalm 105:4. And it is in that seeking that discernment is formed. Beloved child, I do not want you to live in self-doubt, but neither do I want you to ignore the signals I place within your heart. When you feel stretched, pause it. When you find yourself trying too hard to believe, step back, not to give up, but to return to the source. For I am not found in compulsion, I am found in clarity. I do not speak through pressure, I speak through peace. Therefore, learn to listen to the atmosphere of what you are facing. Do not ask only whether this thing is reasonable, but ask, What does it carry within my spirit? Does it open me? Or does it cause me to close? Does it lead me into rest? Or does it push me into tension? This is the language I am using with you, a language that is not loud, yet is very real. And when you remain faithful to that recognition, you will no longer be lost among many voices. You will walk with a certainty that does not need to display itself. You will know what is mine, not because you have analyzed every possibility, but because you recognize my seal upon it. Be at peace, my child, for I am teaching you not only to hear, but also to discern, so that you may walk not in confusion, but in the clarity and deep peace that only I can give.